as I say hi to you, can you let us know where you are in Portugal? So, Amit, where are you this
Sure.
evening?
I'm in Estoril,
Estoril.
right? Yeah, between Cascais and Lisbon,
Okay.
on the water.
And your backdrop is a bit of a clue this evening, isn't it? Thank you so much for being here. Much appreciated. Barak from the International Space Station. But normally, where do you live in central Portugal?
Normally, yeah, I'm in central Portugal. I'm in Travanca de Lagos. So I am about 5 kilometers outside of Oliveira Hospital and about an hour northeast of Coimbra.
This is great information already for people who want to know what it's like to live in those particular places. Thanks, Barak, for being here tonight from Coimbra Live. Debby, good evening to you.
Hola, boa noite. And I am happy to be living in Coimbra.
Very good. Excellent stuff. In Central, of course, as well. It's the capital, isn't it? It's the academic capital of the country and the capital of Central, really, I suppose. Yep. Dotty or Casa Hopkins. Let's go to Casa Hopkins because it's not just Dotty tonight, is it? Hi, Dotty. How are you?
Very well, thank you. My husband, Jack.
Hello, Jack. Nice to see you again as well. So Dotty and Jack, where are you this evening?
We're in Praia de Luz in a condo that we bought in April.
Wonderful.
Praia de Luz is just west of Lagos, between Sagres and Lagos. And we're a 5-minute walk to the beach, less if we walk quickly.
Lovely. And you have your neighbour Paul, who's joined us tonight in the Algarve as well, a little bit further over to Alvor this evening. Thank you, Casa Hopkins, Jack and Dotty for being here tonight. Let's go to James as well tonight, who's also on this panel for seeing what it's like to retire in Portugal. Good evening to you, James. Lovely to have you here.
Good night. I am in Estoril, near the beach in Cascais.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that is also another photo clue behind you, I imagine. Is that right? Is that your local beach?
It's the main one in Cascais.
Fantastic, wonderful. Oh yes, of course it is. Yeah. I'd recognize it better from looking up towards the town, but how wonderful that is. Thank you for being here, James. Lovely to see you. Ray and Vera, good evening to you. Where are you this evening?
We are at home in our condo in Alcobaça.
Alcobaça, very nice. Excellent stuff. Chocolate festival recently, or is that coming up?
No, it's November.
Well, not long now.
No.
Till the world famous chocolate festival. Excellent. Hi, Vera. Just tucked around the corner there. Hiya. Good to see you as well. Hi there. And last but not least, Stuart. Good evening to you, Stuart.
Good evening.
And where do we find you tonight?
Yeah, we're based in the Algarve as well, not too far from Dotty, just further along towards Sagres and Budens. And we're living on San Antonio Golf Complex.
Oh, very nice.
We live right behind the 18th green.
And how is that then? You get to see people heading towards the 19th, do you, after a good round or not, as the case may be?
Yeah. I mean, for us, from our house to the 19th hole is about 50 metres.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. And do you play yourself or did it just happen?
Just started back playing. When I moved over here, I had a bit of a shoulder injury, but that's now cleared up. But I wouldn't want to play in the summer because it's too hot.
Right.
So sort of played a few rounds, and I had a friend over from Ireland and played a few rounds of golf with him. Yeah, look, golf's a social thing. I'm not an avid golfer because of the golf. I'm a golfer because of the social thing.
Right.
So it's like I met up with some buddies and different type things. May get back into it again, but we'll see.
So like they say, it's a good game or a good social life ruined by a game, possibly.
Yeah.
And a bit of a clue as to what you're up to in your retirement as well. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, panel, for being here. Fantastic to see you. And we've also got Tom here from Ohio. Phyllis is in Stuart this evening. And as I said, Paul is with us in the Algarve in Alvor. Gina, good evening to you. Greetings from the US. So let's get cracking. And we want to find out first and foremost, because it's a great dream of people, obviously, to move to Portugal and retire here. But we need to find out from the people who actually have done it and are doing it, whether retirement has met with your expectations. You're first up, Amit, for that question. Is it meeting your expectations?
Yes, absolutely. So that's a resounding yes. So technically, I'm not retired yet. And so, but I did all the same research that anybody coming over to retire would have done.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an added sort of Added amount of analysis because my company actually specializes in retirement planning tools.
Excellent.
And so that's my background. So I did an extensive research into all the things that that matter,
Okay.
you know, both financially as well as health wise, and you know, community and all of the things they tell you. So
you've been talking to a lot
that's
of people already about retirement. So you must have had a sense from other
yes,
people's aspirations, what your own might be
yes.
in Portugal. Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, it's funny, there was on another channel, there was a discussion about which one to pick out of the top 5, I guess, based on the tax regimes.
Mm.
And so what I was pointing out is, you know, picking a country by its tax regime is like picking a car based on the insurance cost.
Right.
You
Yes.
know, so yeah, you do need to pay for it. And so it should be a consideration, but you know, there's a whole lot else that goes into the decision. So
Very good. Yeah, and we're going to find out what a lot of those factors are tonight from this wonderful panel here. And correct to say then you're semi-retired, poised to be retired.
Getting close. Yeah,
Right.
doing all the prep work and you know.
All right. So I'll come back to you for the second question, which is what you do with all your free time, because you might not have a lot of that just yet. But we can ask Barak this question. Has it met with your expectations being retired? Any surprises for you, Barak?
No, not really. It's other than
Just
previous
as you
ones we've
planned
talked
it.
about. Right, just as I've planned it, down to the last detail. No, retirement's been great. It was kind of sudden, and it was brought on from the company I was working at. They just kind of said, "Well, we've gotten rid of your position, so see ya."
And that hastened
But
your plans.
it did. It hastened our plan by minimum of 6 months, if not a year.
Yeah.
And of course, the political what's going on in the U.S. hastened it even more. So, but as far as my expectations, as far as being retired here, it's great. Although I find that I'm busier now than I was when I was working, but
Yes.
that's.
Well, let me ask you that question then, because that's important. We want to know what people are doing with all their free time. It sounds like that might have been a little bit of a surprise. You're not as relaxed and sitting in a chair reading a book or sipping on a gin and tonic as you might have imagined.
No, that was my plan. My plan was to retire and sit on a lounger by the pool and drink a gin and tonic and watch the day go by.
Yes.
This coming November, we will have been here a year, and I think I was able to do that 3 times over the summer, 4 times maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just too much going on. If it's not the dogs, it's the horses, it's the fruit trees, it's cutting the property, it's the olive trees, it's something. There's always something going on that requires my time, and I just don't know where the time goes.
Very
I get up and the day's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm more busy now than I was when I was working.
Wow. We'll come back to you. The lounger has got cobwebs on it, Debby. I think you live a slightly different lifestyle in Coimbra, presumably not surrounded by an orchard in the way that Barak is there. How's it been as far as your expectations go of retirement, having had a little bit of experience of it now?
Well, actually, I've been retired for many years. I retired early, but and I did a lot of nomadic life during my retirement. And I've actually moved in the past. I won't name the places, but I've moved to 2 different places over the years that did not welcome people that were not from there. So coming here to Portugal, I mean, everybody is so kind. They're so friendly. I mean, like right after I moved here and I couldn't open the lock to my building was messed up. And my neighbor, I mean, I hadn't lived here but an hour, and my neighbor was like, "Oh, let me help you." And I said, "Oh, thank you. I just moved here." He's one of the few people that speaks English in my neighborhood. And he said, "Oh, you just moved here. Do you need anything? I'm taking my daughter to a gym class this evening, and I can take you to the mall to pick some things up while she's in school." And we've become really good friends, the whole family.
Fantastic.
So just, people are so friendly, and I've made so many more friends than I thought that I would make.
Yes.
People are really nice. And I don't live in an expat neighborhood. I've not met any other Americans, and I've lived here for a little more than 5 months.
Wow.
But people are just, they're kind, and I'm very happy here.
So in a way, then your expectations were fairly low in terms of how you might be received in a new country, but they have been exceeded, and you're really happy with the warm reception you've had.
Yes. Oh, and I forgot to add one thing. I think I'm the only solo woman on the panel. I just feel safe here. I was living in Florida for a while. I mean, I'm pretty nomadic, but I was in Florida for about a year before I came here. And I just felt like I was always looking over my shoulder. And here, it's like, I just feel really safe. I'll go out and listen to music and get on the bus at midnight and feel perfectly safe.
Wonderful. Excellent. Okay. Lovely to hear about your expectations and how they've been exceeded by the sound of it, Debbie. Let's go to Casa Hopkins, Dotty and Jack. What about you and your expectations? What were you expecting, and how has it actually turned out for you in your retirement here in Portugal, Dotty and Jack?
Well, I only retired shortly before we came here. I retired just before we did our 2-month scouting trip in the late 2022. So in honor of my 80th birthday, I retired from real estate.
Wow, amazing.
And so it's a really different life for me, because I was used to working, 70, 80 hours a week.
I bet.
So moving here was just a godsend for me. I mean, I had a few things. In fact, I just looked at an old journal about the planning of this. And I wanted to see the ocean or some body of water. I wanted a lake, a canal, something, but I had to look at water. I wanted single level. I wanted a walk-in shower. I wanted a village where I could walk to the store. I didn't have to get in the car every time I wanted to go somewhere. And virtually every single thing that was on that goal list, which I haven't actually looked at since, was met. And we're in a small village. I don't know the population, but we have a fairly good sized city, Lagos, under 10 minutes away. So anything that's missing from here, we can easily get. But it's friendly. They're so used to tourists that everybody speaks English. So the fact that we have not acquired much Portuguese, maybe 20 words, to date has not hurt us, but that is not going to keep me from taking lessons. I really do intend to do that. Lots of British people here, and they've been coming for decades. So that's why so many locals speak English. They got used to it with the British tourists. We live in a condominium complex, gated, kind of a semi-resort. We have beautiful pools, a gym. I can go have a massage if I want. It's totally unlike anything that we've lived in before. But it suits us at our age. I mean, I'm now 82, Jack's gonna be 88 in a few weeks. And so for us to have the access to walking to a store, walking to a restaurant, walking to the beach, the doctor's office, everything we want is right here. And that, as we age, that's very convenient. We love all of the medical services we found are just absolutely incredible, so far and above. You guys are mostly younger, so you haven't come to this point yet, but what we got used to with Medicare in the United States was, if you got 10 minutes of your doctor's attention, you were lucky, and move on for the next patient. Here, they will sit for an hour and chat with you and find out what you really need and how you're doing. It's quite incredible, I find.
Excellent to hear.
And so inexpensive compared to what we're used to. Everything we did, as opposed to what you're doing with retirement education for people, Amit, we just used Expats Portugal and took all your recommendations, and it was our planning. Yes. So we got MGen because that's what insurance told us. The only insurance company that covers people in our age group is MGen, so that's what we have. We have Holborn for investments. We used our real estate attorney to help us buy this, was through Expats. virtually every
Fabulous.
service we have. Serenity has found all our doctors for us.
Great stuff. Well, you sound like master manifestors. That all the things on your list have been checked off and have come true for you. That's wonderful.
Well, I am actually known for that.
Very good. Okay. Well, maybe have a separate
But
webinar with you about that.
It's been nothing but a total delight as far as I'm concerned. I absolutely love it. I couldn't be happier. And
That
I
is
get up every
lovely.
morning and I walk out on my terrace and I look at the ocean.
Yeah.
It's only a small view, but
Yeah.
I see blue water and I'm very happy.
Fabulous. Now, the thing I think about retiring to Portugal for some people is that you're retiring. That's a life change. Some of you have said already, you know, you're semi-retired or you were retired long ago, but it sounds like for you, Dotty, you retired, you finished your job just like that. You started in a new country. And also what that seems to mean for the pair of you is you're spending a lot more time together. And that's like three things going on together, but it sounds like it's all going swimmingly. Jack, good evening to you. How is it from your point of view?
Well, I'm still settling in. I've been, excuse my throat. I've been retired for so long that I've forgotten about work.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, well, I was fortunate that my career ended when I was age 60, so I've been retired now for 27 years.
Oh.
And which is great. And so as far as I'm personally concerned, I have to spend my time finding things to do to spend my time. Dotty and I have done a lot of traveling and here to there and so forth. Having been married for 63 years.
60.
Almost.
It'll be 62 years on Friday.
Fantastic. Childhood sweethearts. Fantastic.
So
Yeah, no, Monday,
Yeah.
the 27th.
Right. Okay. I need to ask you, how are you celebrating?
I don't know that he and our daughter, who also immigrated with us, have cooked up something, but I'm not allowed to know.
Okay. No more to be said about that. Then I don't want to ruin a nice surprise. Fantastic. Have a lovely anniversary celebration. That's wonderful. Well, we'll come back to you because this is an important thing about how to fill up the free time, which it sounds like you've been doing very well.
Well, I can tell you in a nutshell, we spend almost
on.
all our free time looking at American political news because we have an election coming up and we are
Yikes.
addicts. Just
you seem incredibly sane considering. Because
No,
it's
you
not going to fade
can
out, is it?
practically see us YouTubing news by hypodermic needles into our arms.
Wow.
It's-
Okay. Be
it is
careful with
sick.
that. Be careful with that stuff. All right. Well, thank you so much, Casa Hopkins, Dotty and Jack. Brilliant. Ray and Vera, let's go to Alcobaça now and ask you about your expectations versus reality when it comes to retiring in Portugal.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of Amit and a little bit of Debby, really, I suppose. In Dotty, we came here, I mean, we were always planning to retire. I had to wind down the business in Canada. We've been doing that over the last year, mainly doing admin work because we needed to show a bit more income for the visa purposes and so on. That's just about finished with now. When we first came here, yeah, very friendly welcome, which was great. That's kind of what we was expecting or hoping for anyway. We did have some issues with health very early on. With Vera's, she had some mobility problems. We were in a rental then. We decided to buy an apartment. And again, the same as Dotty, we had a list. We needed parking close by. We needed a lift if we were not on the ground floor, need to be walkable to the town. And that happened in about 2 or 3 weeks from starting to look.
Nice.
And we went into the real estate office and just mentioned it to a couple of the girls there, like, you know, there's no panic, there's no big rush. And they come up with an apartment and do you want to have a look at it? Well, yeah, sure, you know.
It was easy as that, as it turns out.
Yeah. When do you want to have a look? I said, well, whenever. It's no panic. What about 4 o'clock this afternoon? Yeah, okay.
Yes, we should be back from lunch by then. Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But anyway, to cut that short a little bit, we ended up buying the apartment. We got underground parking. We got a good lift. We're on the 3rd floor. There's the river Alcoa right behind us.
Beautiful.
Which is only a small river, but there's an amazing amount of bird life and things on there, which it's good for me because I'm planning to get back into the photography and things now. Now the
Oh,
business, probably within 2 or 3 weeks, I should be done with that. But expectations, yeah, we've been happy here, haven't we?
Yes.
Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
we're about 5 minutes walk from the monastery, and we'll often just walk down to the town. There's a cafe on the corner there, just down from the post office.
I know the one you mean. I know that one. It's beautiful. It's wonderful there. Vera, what's your favorite in there?
My favorite.
In that cafe, yeah. Because they do a great pasta di dia, don't they?
No, just a cappuccino.
Oh, cappuccino in there. Okay, fair enough. Well,
Yeah.
lovely to see you both. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you. James, how about you? Expectations versus reality.
When I first moved here, it'll be 2 years in February. My brother and I moved here together. We share an apartment here in Estoril. And the main thing that we were looking for when we were scouting to come here was we wanted someplace anywhere along the train lines that are connected to Lisbon. So we were looking in Sintra, we were looking in Parque dos Nazos, Setúbal, and as far out as Cascais. We were lucky enough to find the place that we live here in Estoril. And the great thing is that it's only about a slow half an hour train ride, if that, into downtown Lisbon from here. And it's probably about, I want to say about a 2-kilometer walk into downtown Cascais from our apartment along what's called the Pardal, which is basically a paved walkway along the beach that runs all the way from Amit's house all the way into downtown Cascais along the beach. And there's probably, and we'll get this is bordering on another one of the questions that you're going to ask tonight, but there's probably, I would say, a couple thousand Americans / British / English speakers here in this neighborhood. Yeah. So it's very easy to sort of assimilate here in Estoril, Cascais. It's got plenty of things to do. I wanted to retire to a place that had a lot of activity, that was close to Lisbon, where there's a humongous number of museums, and palaces, and exhibits, and art and cultural activities. I mean, Cascais even has its own symphony orchestra, which you can buy a ticket for anywhere from €4 to €15 for a performance. World-class music here. So it's been great just to be able to, there's just so much to do here. It's incredible.
Fantastic.
And the healthcare is wonderful. I've had to have 3 surgeries in the last 2 months.
Wow. So
they've taken really good care of me. And it's far cheaper than it would have been in the United States. The buses here in the Cascais region are free to residents.
I was going to ask you, you qualify for that, do you?
Anybody who lives here or works here can qualify for the free buses.
Fabulous.
And then if you're over 65, which I'm not quite there yet, you can get a half price transportation ticket in the Lisbon area, which covers the trains, the buses, the ferries, etc. So that's €20 a month. So it's got a lot to offer here. I'm really happy.
Any surprise?
Really excited.
Any surprises? Any things that didn't quite meet your expectations on coming to Portugal?
Not that I can really think of. It's just been much more than I expected.
Well, that's pretty amazing. Rob, thank you for your comment, Rob, in the Zoom chat there. Feel free to ask questions. If there's a specific thing you want to know about that we're not covering, feel free to ask your question in the chat there. And there will be a chance after we've paused the recording to ask questions of the panel here tonight. Thanks, James, for the time being. Much appreciated. Stuart, what about you on this first round of expectations versus reality? How's it been for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's more than met our expectations. Our expectations really weren't. I took early retirement at 62. So my expectation was really to come here and you know, miss work and really be sort of a bit homesick and different type things, but none of that's happened. Miss the people at work, miss good friends that I work with, but I really don't miss work itself. I was in a fortunate position that it was my choice to retire.
Yeah.
I didn't retire due to ill health, or I didn't retire because of age, or because I was made redundant. My wife's a few years older than me, so when she got to retirement age, I thought, you know what, I'm going to retire at the same time. So we did. We both retired in the same day. My wife took a bit of a stroke, not February a year ago, which really slowed life down.
Sure.
But that's actually coming from a job in sales where you're running at 100 miles an hour and you're one customer to another and everything, to all of a sudden to really slow down. It's been quite refreshing. I got up in the morning, take the dog out and have a good, really fast walk. I go to the gym and different type things. And then in the afternoon, I go out with my wife. She's back up to doing 6,000-7,000 steps.
Wow.
And that can be 2,000 steps and a long coffee. Another 2,000 steps and another long coffee.
Yeah.
Another 2,000 steps and a beer and then home. So,
Yes.
and that's taken a bit of adjustment, but I have to say the health service here in Portugal is far better than what we'd have got in Ireland. Really far better.
Good. Excellent.
We seen a consultant and he said to my wife that she required a scan.
Yeah.
So we'll go to the front desk and they would organise it. And the lady looked at us and she was 100% serious. She said, well, you can't have the scan today because you've got to fast. So what time do you want to come back tomorrow?
With an apology. Yeah, we can't do it any quicker.
I mean, look, in Ireland, it'd taken them 3 weeks to get a letter together and they got an appointment in 3 months.
Yeah.
And we were back there the following day at 1 o'clock for a scan.
Yes.
Which was unbelievable.
That's incredible. That's really good. And lots of great questions coming in. Let's stay with you, Stuart, because I want to find out from everybody about what you do with all your free time. And we've had some clues about that. And you obviously you've been talking about the coffee-based workout that you do most days, Stuart, there, and friendships. You know, you don't miss work, but you miss the friendships from work. Free time and friendships. How's that been for you in your new life here? Yeah,
I mean, look, we've had a really, really busy summer. Just to put it into context, my car in 12 days went 8 times to Faro Airport.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Thankfully, when my daughters were here, I wasn't driving all the time. But
yes,
we've just had a mad summer with our 2 daughters. One's in New Zealand, one's in Australia. We had both of them for like 5 and 6 weeks, and thankfully 3 weeks of that overlapped. So we're all back together, and when we're all back together, we jumped on a plane from Faro, we flew to Porto, and we've done a good bit of wine tasting. You know,
okay. Very
lovely
good.
to
Sounds like they enjoyed themselves.
And then, funnily enough, like other members of family who wouldn't come and see us in Ireland are desperate to come and see us in Portugal.
Funny that, isn't it?
Isn't it? No, so
right. So
yeah, so we've even got to the stage where we said to people, "No, you can't come that week. That's booked up. 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever after." So yeah, I mean. And then last week I had a friend from Ireland who's just taking early retirement as well, and he came over and we played a bit of golf. So yeah, look, we don't have too many close friends over here in Portugal. We got a few people that we can fall back on, but we're not worried about that because we know when the time's right. No, we'll get out there. But really, the priority has been getting my wife back mobile and back on her feet and.
Yeah, well, we're glad to hear that's
gone well. Achieve that, and that's great, and
that's superb. Right. So when you live in Portugal, then people do want to come and see you, and there's an especially busy time of the year, which I'm sure a lot of the panelists can sympathise with tonight. Cheers for the time being, Stuart. Let's go to Amit on that. I know that some people in their retirement planning have chosen to have a 1-bedroomed apartment with a really good hotel down the road. What's your strategy for having people come over, Amit? Right, we need you unmuted there, Amit. We've already had a good laugh about Zoom tonight.
Yeah, I know. I'm repeating the same mistakes. See, I just do everything Jerry does. Yeah, so, but so our position is a bit different from some folks. We have two daughters, both married, and actually the older one is now pregnant. And so our plan was, and we have another family member to worry about. So my mother-in-law lives with us. So she was living in Germany, but she's 86. And so that was part of the plan of moving here is the US wouldn't let her in. Right. I'm sure those of you who are Americans understand the problem. So if she had crossed the border from Mexico, she would have been fine. But flying into the US meant she could only stay for 6 months at a time. So, which is obviously not practical for any 6-year-old. So this was a good way to deal with that as well. So she lives with us. And so because of that, we decided we'd buy a house, and ideally a house with an annex, which would all be on one floor, on the ground floor, so she didn't have to worry about steps or anything. And we found exactly what we were looking for, but that's why my name says moving to Porto. So we are actually going to move up there.
Wow.
And so in terms of the planning, I think one thing that I think we were watching and sort of getting a little bit nervous about, because we first started researching this right during COVID and right after. And I'm sure some of you remember European interest rates were negative 0.75. So people were usually getting mortgages that were at 1.4, 1.5%, which, again, if you're moving from the US, you know the difference. And so we were nervously watching that because the rates actually didn't start climbing during that period. They climbed very sharply after 22, but the prices were definitely climbing even while we were doing the research.
Yes.
And I think the current metrics are between 2019, no, not 2019, 2009 and 22, they've basically doubled.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that is something, it wasn't entirely unexpected, but I think we had hoped to have better prices and to be able to find a place that we can afford comfortably.
Yes.
But that said, obviously, it's still, the background to that was, while we were living where we were near Washington, D.C., in the 4 years that we rented there, prices went up about 60%, 50 to 60%.
Right, so relatively better.
Exactly. It's all relative.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was our planning and our expectations. So I think aside from that, we were expecting the bureaucracy. Again, slightly different from most Americans, but I migrated to the US.
Mm-hmm.
And so if any of you who are complaining about the bureaucracy in Portugal, you should see what it takes to migrate into the US from a third world country like I did.
That's a very interesting perspective.
And you'd think somebody invited you over for cocktails when you come to the Portuguese process.
Very interesting.
But anyway, so that's kind of where we stand.
Thank you. And a really big family by the sound of it. So you, in terms of friendships and what you do with your free time, I think you've explained there with your free time, you're pretty busy anyway. Friendships, how is that?
Yeah, we've made a bunch of friends. I think we started out with mostly expats, which is probably typical for most expats. But one of the things that we had found, even while we were living in the US, is that a lot of our close friends weren't from the local area. So when we lived in California, some of our closest friends were in Washington, D.C. They were in, Southern California. They were in Boston. So there were some were from college, some were from, even from high school in India and so forth. So, so I think we kind of expected, and my wife also migrated from Germany. So same thing, we didn't have a lot of local network, as it were. We had friends, some of them were acquaintances, some of them were close friends. But so for us, it was a pretty easy transition. So, somebody is in DC and we were in California. Well, instead of a 3-hour time difference, now it's a 5-hour time difference.
That's
Big deal, right?
Yeah. And you were never used to
So,
talking to them over the garden fence anyway.
Yeah. And, I have a friend, close buddy in Finland. I have friends in India, family in India, who are all now much closer than, when I was in California. So it sort of, it kind of works out in the balance, right? You may have to make a little more effort in keeping in touch with your friends and family. And it sounds probably a little cynical, but I think what happens is the people you weren't really close to sort of fall away.
Interesting.
Right. And the people you were really close to, it makes no difference. You find a way to stay in touch. We've had friends come visit us here. We've gone and, visited people in the US and in India. I've been to Finland for the first time to, meet up with my friend. So I think a lot of it is, in the approach you take, right?
Yes.
So you can't sort of sit back and expect things to happen. You have to make it happen. You have to make an effort, go out and meet people. I mean, actually, one of our sort of closest Portuguese friends is a couple. The gentleman actually works in the security group that manages our complex.
Right.
Yeah, but we just got talking to him and, went out to lunch a few times, and now he's a friend. And
that's a first then for you, Amit, a friend in the same town.
Yeah, actually, then that is kind of unique,
Fantastic.
And then, of course, we meet with Ana Vieira and James, and there's a whole bunch of others.
Friends from the Expats Portugal community that Gina's just joined. Well done, Gina. I think you just signed up, and of course you'll be able to come along to the Dream Team session. Amit, thanks very much for the time being. Let's go to Barak. We heard that from before who said he didn't have much free time, as it turns out. What about friendships? I know because you're in a fairly remote location, Barak, in the countryside there. I mean, do you want to make friends? And if you, how's it been? I mean, not everybody does, right?
Yeah, no, it's actually been pretty easy.
Right.
Our friendships and making friends here has been no different than making friends in the US. So I go into Oliveira Hospital and go shopping, and there's a little shop where the whole front half is all liquor and things like that, and the back half is the butcher. And
perfect shop. Perfect shop.
It's great. I never leave out of there without spending 100 euros or more, and it's mostly alcohol. Just kidding. But no, I'll go in there, and the girls are trying to learn more English, so obviously I help them with that. They help me with Portuguese. I talk with Luis, as the butcher, and we're always working on each other's language. He just had a little baby girl. So congratulated him. The owners of the barn where we have our horses, we'd moved here, like I said, Thanksgiving of last year, and knew nobody, had no place to go, knew nothing. And we had spent maybe a month going back and forth to the barn, and they said, look, you've got no place to go for New Year's, do you? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Any place to go? No, we just moved into a house. We don't even have a bed yet. And they said, you're coming over here.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, we went over there, spent New Year's Eve over there with Sonia and her family and her mother and her and her sister and brother-in-laws and everybody. And they said, so now that you're leaving it's 2 a.m, New Year's Day. You're coming back later today to finish eating and spend more time with us, right?
Portuguese way.
Can we go home, let the dogs out, go to bed for a little while, and then come back? They said, yeah, please, but you'll be back around noon or so.
With all this food and drink that needs finishing. That is
right.
fantastic Portuguese hospitality from the get-go.
So meeting friends has not been difficult. It's been very easy. And yes, Portuguese itself is a difficult language, but if you give it a half-ass try, they love it and they'll help you out, and they realize that it's a tough language, and they will go out of their way to try and speak a little bit of English. It's very warm and friendly and a nice place to be.
Thank you, Barak. That's excellent. Sure. Debbie, you made friends very quickly by getting locked out of your apartment. We don't recommend that approach.
No, well, it wasn't the apartment, it was the building. But I brought my exhibit, well, it was the building, and they finally changed the lockdown there.
Okay, good.
So I brought exhibit A. You want to meet in Portugal, you either bring your dog with you, or when you get here, you adopt a dog. I have met literally thousands of people in 5 months because I've got a really cute dog, and everybody wants to ask questions, and I'm still not fluent at all in Portuguese, but I know how to answer some of the questions that people ask about how old is she, things like that. So one of the things we do to fill our free time is we go down to the Baixa, there's some process there, we hang out, have a beer, have a coffee, and I call it trolling for tourists. So everybody misses their dog, and I've got the world's cutest dog here. And so all of the tourists want to pet my dog. So
how lovely. And you don't charge for that, do you?
No.
Not yet. Okay. All right.
So how do I? Oh, go ahead.
No, there are a lot of cats and dogs that need homes in Portugal. That's for sure, isn't it? And so I think your advice is great. If you're up for that, if you're up for adopting a pet, you'll have somebody who'll help you make immediate friends. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no problem. So what takes up most of my time is I'm going to the University of Coimbra and studying Portuguese for foreigners. It's 4 days a week. It is so hard. In fact, one of my classmates is here in the panel. I won't call her out, but she knows who she is. and another thing about that, so I'm learning some Portuguese, although it's not really conversational. It's more about the grammar and the structure. So I'm still not able to communicate, but I'm learning. Another thing is just making friends from going to school. So I did the summer intensive with a friend that came over from Florida, and we made some friends, including the professors, and now I'm making some new friends. And one thing I like about Portugal, just a quick story. So I changed professions when I was about 41, and so went and started a job, and my coworkers were all like 22, 23, and I was like 41, right? And they treated me like I was the yucky old lady, and she's old, she's stupid, blah, blah, blah. Right. So in my class, I'm 69. There's one guy, I think he's 66. The next oldest is 31. Everybody else is in their teens and 20s, and they treat me like a peer.
Yes.
It is so refreshing. I mean, they share their little inside jokes with me, and they smile, and they're just so kind. So that's just a different cultural thing that and they're just amazed that they're going to school with somebody who's the age of their grandma or great grandma. They think that's really
lovely to be treated so well. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. A masterclass in friendship and use of time, and actually 2 birds with 1 stone there, because you're learning the language and making friends in the process, which is great. Thanks, Debbie. Dotty Jak, free time. We know you're watching the American TV mainly, but what about friendships?
I have to say something to Debbie first, though. What's that famous song, RESPECT?
Yes.
Respect.
Yeah, from the youngsters.
That's what you get.
Yes.
Yeah.
But real quick, you know what I don't get, because I don't look 69? I don't get respect on the bus. People don't offer their seat. Because I don't look old. And you know what? I started not looking old when I moved to Portugal.
Oh, very
It's
good.
amazing.
Okay.
It's just, just so.
You have to acquire a cane if you want someone to give you your seat. Their
Yeah.
seat.
Yeah, a theatrical prop. And thank you for that. The European facelift. That's a really good thing to be. Jerry, write that down. Stick that on the marketing materials of Expats Portugal. Is it 5 years younger, 10 years younger? What would you estimate that at, Debbie?
People that meet me think I'm in my early 50s.
Amazing.
I am old
agree.
enough to be the mother of somebody in their early 50s.
Yes, right. That's great, isn't it? So yes, Jerry, definitely writing that down. That may appear.
Well, absolutely, Carl. I mean, funnily enough, the same thing happens to me. I wish.
Thank you, Jerry. We all wish with you. Dotty and Jack, friendship in Portugal.
Well, because we live in a complex with mostly Europeans, but they come and go. They don't live here full time. There's only a handful of us that are full-time occupants here. So we get to know people and we like them, and we've had a couple of couples over for cocktails, but then they go back home for 2 months and we don't see them again. So that's a little, a little hard to get used to.
And worth bearing in mind for when people are choosing where to live. I guess if you live somewhere where people have holiday homes, that could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, we chose this knowing it was a resort, but we chose it because it offered everything else: an underground garage where we could hook up our EV car, single level, affordable, it had everything else. So the fact that it's not all of us full time was secondary. Besides, we live where the weather is so fantastic. I wouldn't trade it for anywhere else. It's just incredible. And, we come from the Napa Valley, so we're pretty spoiled. 50 years we were in the Napa Valley. So we're used to pretty incredible weather. And this is very similar, except we get these lovely ocean breezes that, of course, being in a valley, we didn't get.
But anyway, it's friendly when you're out and about in that lovely weather, is it? If you're walking about, people strike up conversation. It's a friendly place to be.
Yes, they're mostly tourists. I mean, if we're sitting in a cafe and we strike up a conversation, half the time it'll be a tourist, not a local. Although we did meet one couple, we started chatting. Turns out both husbands have flying backgrounds because Jack was an airline pilot, and this couple are Australian, but they had a Canadian helicopter business where they flew people into ski resorts and dropped them on the tops of the mountains and all. Really interesting couple.
Yeah.
And now they're here full time. And so when they left, she gave me her phone number and said, if you ever want to get together, let us know. And now we've gotten together for dinner a couple of times and we really enjoy them.
That's wonderful.
So, but we haven't met any Americans, which is fine. No, intended, Debbie, but we didn't come here to live amongst other Americans. So actually that's just fine.
Right. And I don't live amongst them either. I'm the only American in my whole neighborhood.
Yeah. You're the only Americans you get to see on the call every Thursday. That's it.
Yeah.
May I comment on that?
Of course, Jack, please do.
The thing that is so noticeable here is that when you're out and about at the beach or wherever you are, and there's a Portuguese family, and it's particularly if the family the children are 10 or younger or a little older, you see the father with the children. The father's taking care of the children. He's got them. He's with them. And not that the mother isn't part of it. Don't get me wrong, but in the U.S., you don't see that. I mean, that stopped in the U.S. a long time ago. You've got dad's off at the bar with his buddy and mom's got the kids and they're arguing. And it's just this general attitude that has developed in the U.S. that was the main reason I think that I was willing to pack up and move. And it's such a pleasure to be here to see where people are enjoying each other, not aggravating each other. They love their children. They take care of them. They give their children freedom. And it is just a tremendously different attitude, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
To see that family life. Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, we love the Sunday promenade, and all of you who live here know that phenomenon where the families are all together on Sundays and they're arm in arm, and maybe it's at least 3 generations, often 4. So you have everyone from the little ones running around to grandma and grandpa arm in arm with the teenagers.
Yep.
I've seen fathers with their teenage sons arm in arm or holding hands. I mean, it's just amazing. You just don't see that in the United States. I mean, teenagers in the United States don't want to be within 5 miles of their parents most of the time.
Yes.
And if they are, they've got their phone in their face and they're not paying any attention to their family whatsoever.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
this is just so refreshing. And to never read about a shooting, or heaven forbid a school shooting, or you never hear a parent yell at a child or slap a child or anything that we get used to, in the States, where children are acting out and the parents lashing out at them or whatever. I mean, here it's just, I see kids running around the beach. Little kids, I don't even know who their parents are. I'm sure they're watching them.
Everyone's taking care of each other. Yeah.
There is no such thing as helicopter parenting, which we just find so refreshing, and it's wonderful.
Well, long may it continue. Thank you, Dotty and Jak. I need to move on if you don't mind, because I've got further questions for you, and there's a lot of you, which is great. But I need to come to a final question in just a moment after we found out about free time and friendships. Let's ask you, James, because you've also admired, I think, family values here. And certainly in your part of the country. James, what about friendship and free time? You came with your brother, you say, so you got ready-made family and backup. Have you made many friends outside of you and your brother?
Yeah, that's true. Although unlike the rest of Portugal, perhaps except for maybe the Algarve, Cascais has a very high expats population here. So there are a lot of expats groups here in Cascais, one of which I think has 1,000 members. And so I've met quite a number of people through that. That meets once a month. And then there's also just a coffee group that meets here at a local cafe every Monday morning. Just gets together for coffee and chatting. Yeah. So you meet a lot of people through that. So yeah, there's quite a bit of activity here. Also, last January, I started a gardening group for the region.
Nice.
So we get together with people who are interested in growing plants here in Cascais and learning how to kill plants. But
what more quickly?
Exactly.
No, more slowly.
More slowly. That's right. Yeah, that's the way, isn't it? With the gardening group. Fantastic.
Plus, there's so many gardens here in Portugal, and particularly in Lisbon as well. So we've done a number of different field trips to some of the beautiful gardens around here. And some of them are kind of tucked away and kind of surprises. So you never really know what you're gonna catch up with.
Wonderful. Thank you, James. And we have a final question. We have Ray and Vera and Stuart to talk to about friendships and free time. And we will be brief on the last question, which is the big question, of course, about how to stay in touch with family back home, which is one of the big challenges, of course, when you move abroad. So we will deal with that tonight. And Gilbert, thank you for your questions. And I think we've got lots of solutions for your particular question, and we'll come to all the other questions in the chat after we've concluded this part of the seminar webinar this evening. So Ray and Vera, much free time? Do you find you're kicking your heels, or is it a bit like Barak where there's always something to do?
No, and it's a bit of both, really. I mean, I've had some of the business stuff to do, but we've tried hard to sort of calm down from all of that, chill out, enjoy the place here. So we do go out a lot, and again, we've had 1 or 2 problems. Put it down to another one of those benefits of getting older, I guess. But we wander down into the town, as I say, to the cafe that
Carla's it's called. I remember now. It's Carla's.
That's the one, yeah. And we just sit there and people watch and watch the world go by. And we've seen wedding parties go into the monastery. And you know, nearly every time we go out, somebody will come and talk to us that knows us.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And we've done this sort of thing 2 or 3 other times, moved to other countries, and one of the big points you find, if you go out into the town where you're living and somebody recognizes you and comes and speaks to you, that's when you start to feel that you belong somewhere.
Yes. Yeah.
And we've had that in spades here.
That's fantastic. And Alcobaça is built for that, isn't it? It's a good tip.
It
for anybody
is.
looking for a sociable city. It's of a scale, isn't it, where you can go for a promenade morning or evening and bump into people.
Yeah, and there's so much more goes on here than that. You know, there's always some festival or something going on here.
Yes.
And again, where we were in Canada, we were like 100 kilometers from any other town.
Yeah.
And here we've got Caldas just down the road, 25, 30 clicks. We've got Oliveira, we've got São Martinho, and everywhere's so close, and there's so much goes on. And we've made loads of friends. Some are expats, many are locals.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we go into stores and I try the Portuguese, and then after a little while they kind of recognize you, and if they see you when they're out, and they come and chat. Mm-hmm. And 1 or 2 have become really good friends, haven't they? And it's been great, actually.
Wonderful,
really
wonderful.
good.
Vera, how would you rate your Portuguese? Have you got to that sort of conversational level? No, but it's not a problem by the sound of it, anyway.
Oh, I don't talk it. I don't speak Portuguese at all. It's all up to him.
You leave it to Ray. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not good at learning languages. It doesn't sink in.
Oh, okay. Well, but you've got Ray as your interpreter.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well,
Just as long as you've got your cappuccino, you're all right.
Yeah. And I've got the phone as well with the DPL on it. So.
Okay. All right. So you use that. Yeah. Very good. All right. Lovely, Alcobaça. Thank you, both of you. Finally, then on this particular round, Stuart, free time, you're playing golf, you're showing people. Well, I think we asked you, didn't we? And you told us you got family here all the time, pretty much, and now you're looking forward to some free time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for us is talk about time for a second, Carl, because when I came here to Portugal, the first thing I did was get rid of a watch.
Yeah.
So I don't live by time. When I was working, everything was to minutes and appointments, and everything was set times.
Yes.
I haven't worn a watch since I arrived in Portugal. So the rest, don't wear it. It's gone. So I wake up when I wake up. I go to bed when I'm tired. I eat when I'm hungry, and everything else fits in.
That is fantastic.
Don't live by a watch. And you find that in Portugal, restaurants are open all day. So, okay, some maybe open at 7:30, but you'll always find somewhere open.
Yes.
So if you decide you're hungry, you find some place and you go eat.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that we've done, is get time out your head. And it doesn't matter if you go somewhere and you hear people on other tables saying service is very slow, and we're just sitting there saying it'll come when it comes. Just let it take its own time, and that's great.
And you've got completely used to that. Now that is what people want to hear about retirement: throwing your watch away and being fine with that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that I've been quite strict when people come visit. They're not allowed to moan. They're not allowed to complain.
Good.
No, we know that things are bad back in the UK and everywhere else and whatever, but no, we say, look, you're not going to bring us down to your level. You come up to our happiness level.
Well, you say, stop, you're moaning. Stop.
So even I give an example. My sister, when she was out there and we were sitting out in the patio and she was moaning and moaning, she said, so what do you think? I said, I never listened to you. Said, what?
Will she be coming back?
Switched off. The minute you start moaning, I just switch off. I said, Barak, I'm in a different mindset. I don't want to listen.
Tough love.
I don't want to listen to anybody moaning, complaining. You're here on holiday. Get away from it.
Yes.
I don't want to go back to it, and that's it. So, and people took a wee bit of while to get used to the new Stuart with that sort of attitude and different type of things. But people have started to sort of come into it.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, look, if we're watching television and it gets depression, we change the channel. Don't watch anything that's going to bring us down. Don't watch anything that's going to make us depressed. We'll watch a comedy show or we'll watch something that'll make us happy.
What an amazing strategy. What an amazing strategy.
Look, and that's it. And the other thing too is actually I've joined the gym, and by chance I stumbled into a high intensity training class.
Whoops.
So I've been going for a few weeks now, but I was thinking it was getting a bit tough. But then I was on my PC the other day and I seen a thing, and the motto that this guy had, it's far better to be the oldest person in the gym than the youngest in the nursing home.
Whoa, there you go. Pearls of wisdom from Stuart on retirement in Portugal.
And it's brilliant. And again, it's just little things like that just flick switches in your brain and just give you a completely different mindset.
Yeah.
And life is so much better when you're not under pressure for targets, you're not under pressure for time.
Yes.
You're just listening to Billy Connolly and you're listening to happy things, and and I know there's lots of bad things going on in the world, but there's nothing I can do to influence a lot of it. So I just don't watch it.
And you're adding to the good vibes in the world with your attitude, by the sound of it, Stuart, which can only be
so as I say, just surround yourself with good, happy people.
Yeah.
And like who are going to be like yourself, and that's the way to get on with it.
Yes.
And as I say, we've had a couple of setbacks, as I say, with my wife's health, but like that's much better.
Yes.
And again, even with herself, I don't let her talk about the stroke and different type things. I only let her talk about how well she's doing and how she's improving, and look at the future and how it's going to be better. And it's look, it works for us. Might not work for everybody, but it works for us. But I'm a great believer that when you enter into retirement, the thing that's got to be really important is your mindset.
Yes.
Are you going to embrace it or are you going to fight it?
Wow.
And we've embraced it.
Yeah.
Gems from Stuart tonight. Right, we've had a long conversation. Thanks everybody for being here on Zoom. Thanks for watching on YouTube too. I want to keep this last round very brief because thank you to all of you, 9 of you on the panel tonight. I agree with you completely. What wonderful community spirit, says Jerry, and thanking you as well this evening. This last question is an important one because people are concerned about it when they're moving, and it is about being in touch with family back home. And it's a bit of a deal breaker sometimes, and it's perhaps the hardest thing about moving away. Can I come to you for your strategy on how you deal with it, each of you on the panel, to help other people see how they might manage that? Because in Stuart's mindset, it'll be, there's going to be a positive solution to this. What might that be? Amit, can I start with you?
Sorry, to unmute. Well, I think I kind of referred to it a little bit before, but we are in, whether we like to look at it positively, like Stuart does. Yeah. But we have friends basically all over the world at this point, except for Australia and New Zealand, I think. But it was a matter of taking time and putting some effort in to find them and contact them and set up a time to meet or whatever it took. And actually, I was telling somebody else in the chat that being in Portugal makes it much easier to go and get around Europe.
Yes.
And frankly, for me at least, it's also easier and faster for me to get to India, where obviously I still have family and friends. Mm-hmm. So overall, this has actually made things easier. And I know obviously our position is a bit unique.
Yeah.
But the only one of our close family that we are farther from is my youngest daughter, who lives in California. But she and her husband both work. They're busy during the day anyway. And so even when we lived in the DC area, we had to schedule time, set up a FaceTime for Saturday or Sunday or something. And the time difference actually works to our benefit now, because it's an 8-hour time difference from California. And so they are, my daughter especially is not an early morning type on the weekends. And so she'll set aside the first hour or two of her Saturday or a Sunday or something. And we talk to her because it's the evening here. And if we are not if our social calendar is not full, then it makes it easy. And so we actually, I think over the last couple of years, we've probably spoken more to our kids than we used to when we were in the States. Because there is, there is this kind of, implied or an assumption made that, oh, they're in California, so we can talk to them anytime.
Yes.
But it doesn't happen that way, right? When you're working and they're working and, they've got to take care of their households and everything else.
That's amazing. Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear it's improved for you as things have turned out for you being in Portugal. Thank you so much for being on our panel tonight. Much appreciated. Please stick around because there will be questions from the Expats Portugal Premium members, and we'll have a little private audience with them in just a moment. Let's go to Barak. What about staying in touch with the United States?
Yeah, it's not been difficult. We've got friends and family, back in Texas, so it's Greenwich Mean Time. It's 6-hour difference, and it's not been a big deal. We typically, like a lot of Portuguese, will go out to dinner about 8 o'clock, come home around 10, and we'll call our friends. So it's 4 in the afternoon, or something like that.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Before the call, I was talking to my trainer that's got one of my horses back in the States, and it was 2 in the afternoon. It's not a big deal. You just have to kind of remember that, you don't want to try and call somebody in the States if it's 8 o'clock in the morning here. They're not going to be
feel like it. Yeah, you've got to do the check. Thanks, Barak, for that.
Yeah, they're not going to be real happy if you try and call them at 1 in the morning.
You probably only do it once, don't you?
I've done it once, and
all right. You're allowed one of those. And
That's
yes,
right.
thank you, Jerry. It's full back this weekend in Portugal.
Yes,
for that reminder as well. So that's to add to the calling schedule. Cheers, Barak. Stick around. Thank you so much for giving it of yourself, and thank you all the panel for working hard in the chat as well. You know you've been answering questions on an individual basis there, and that's been happening over on YouTube as well. It's been fantastic. Sorry we haven't given you much attention. We'll give you more attention in the Dream Team session, YouTube, a little bit later. Debbie, how is it staying in touch with the United States or anywhere else in the world for that matter?
Well, your addendum really fit because I do travel a lot. So first, I'm child-free. I don't have any family, but I grew up 3,000 miles from my grandparents, and we still had a great relationship, and that was decades before FaceTime and email and all that stuff. It's just about staying in touch and visiting and making the most of those visits. And so so far as family, I'm used to not being close to family anyway. So far as friends, because I did retire early, I've been traveling forever. I spent 10 years traveling in a motorhome all over the United States, made a lot of friends all over the United States, stayed at many people's homes during that decade. They're getting their payback now, come to visit me, which is really nice. And then right before we started, I said, I actually had this question from my neighbor the other day over coffee. He's like, so don't you miss being around your friends? I said, well, here's the thing. I spent my adult career in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So, and most of my friends are right about mid-60s. They've been retiring. They're retiring, they're in that process. And what do people in Fort Lauderdale do when they retire? They get the hell out. So if I went back to Fort Lauderdale, I know a few people, and guess what? They have come here to see me.
Brilliant. So okay, it's all working out.
Yeah, because people, when they retire, they don't, at least my friends, they don't stay put. They go someplace else. Or I've got a roommate coming, a very long time friend is moving in November. I was really lucky. I found a furnished 3-2 apartment. So even with a roommate, I can still have company in the third bedroom. It's really great. So I'm finding it works out. And I think a lot of people have mentioned it's just work out the time difference. And I do have friends in California, and we make appointments to call. And you know what? That's really better than just calling somebody randomly anyway and catching them in the middle of something.
Yeah, right.
I really like that better. So,
loving this so far. Superb, Debbie. Thank you for your strategy on that. Let's go to the Hopkins household, please. Jack and Dotty. How are you coping with staying in touch with the folks back home?
Well, one daughter, as I said, came with us.
Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah.
So that's been really great because, you know, like yesterday, she and her dad went and played golf together, and I got
Who
to
won, Jack? Who won?
No, it was she just rode along, but you know,
Okay.
company. But I got to stay home.
There's no contest there, so don't even bring it up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But I got to just sit home with my feet up and, you know, relax. So that was really nice. And, you know, she'll pick stuff up at the store if she's going to Lagos, and I do the same for her. So that makes it nice. It's not like we're completely detached from family. The promise to our other daughter and granddaughters was that we would go back for a month every year.
Okay.
And they'll come here for a month in the summer when the granddaughters are out of school. So they didn't make it this summer because granddaughters were both in summer school. So that kind of, they're teenagers. And, you know, teenagers are not that attached to their grandparents. Now, Portuguese teenagers are, but not American teenagers. So anyway, next summer they'll have graduated from high school and be going off to college, but hopefully we will get together. But we'll be home for a month starting in the end of November. And we call, and you know, I call my best friend every once in a while, but we've had 3 sets of visitors, friends that have come. And so that's been really nice. And I don't know, we entertained so much when we lived in Napa because everybody wanted to come to the Napa Valley, and we had friends from all over. I think I kind of got tired of company, so I'm actually fine being alone.
Brilliant.
Here.
That's a good result.
I am not missing.
Actually, I want to tap in on that. I think that we made this move for ourselves, Dotty and I.
Yes.
We had contributed through the family, blah, 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 for years and years and years. And we got returned, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But this is our time of life. And this is our time to do things that we want for ourselves. And we want our family to enjoy them with us. But they can get on an airplane too and come and see us once in a while.
Yes.
That's kind of the footing that I've put this relationship on, and I think it's going to work out well in the long run.
Very good, Jack.
You know, we're older than anybody else here, and at our ages, it is more grueling to travel, you know, 13 hours to get to California than it is for younger people. So we do kind of expect it to be reciprocal.
No, understanding that, very good.
I've got over 25,000 hours flying jet airplanes, okay? And I don't really sit at home saying, oh God, I wish I could go get on an airplane.
I'm sure. You're happy on a golf buggy now, right? Pilot.
I think I've finished that logbook up.
Captain of the golf buggy's enough now. That sounds amazing. Cheers, Jack and Dotty. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We're not going to have much time for questions. We're going to be nearly into the Dream Team session. We might have to carry this forward into that session there. Thank you both. Kazza Hopkins, you've been brilliant. Let's go to James on this staying in touch. Your brother's with you, so that's not a big deal.
Right. I speak to my dad every once in a while.
Right.
Other than that, I don't speak to too many people back east, or back west. But I am a travel photographer, and I take lots of pictures here in Portugal, and I post them deliberately on Facebook so they can all drool over what I'm doing over here. So that keeps the conversation alive with a lot of people that I missed back in the States.
Very nice. Winding up the folks back home with some fantastic photographs. Thank you, James. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate it. And can we see some of your photos on the Expats Portugal forum as well? Because you very kindly put your details up in the chat there.
Sure.
Excellent. All right. You can get in touch with James and everybody else via the Expats Portugal forum. Ray and Vera, any issues with staying in touch with the folks back home? Back home.
Yeah. We moved here to be closer to family, actually. So
of course you did.
We got brothers and sisters, and 2 of the kids are still in England, and now we're on the same time zone.
Yeah.
They've started to visit as well because it's a 2-hour flight.
Yeah, perfect.
Our eldest daughter, she lived in the Midlands, and she's a qualified nurse. We'd only been here a short while, and she accepted a job a really good job actually in Vancouver, of all places. So we left Canada and came here, and she's not long after left the UK and went to Canada.
Oh,
So we just need to watch the time there. But Vera has good chats with her every week, and you know, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, it sounds like everyone's doing the best they can within the circumstances they have and sort of being strategic about it. Ray and Vera, thank you so much. Finally, last but not least, Stuart, I'm sure you've got a cracking strategy on this. Sounds like part of it is having people come here as long as they don't moan. Stuart, anything else to say on that?
No, look, I mean, the thing for us, Carl, is that my wife and myself left Scotland in 1991, moved to North East England to 2003, and then moved to Ireland. So we've been remote from the immediate family for a long, long time. So we've been used to it over the years. But look, I mean, modern technology now, WhatsApp, Facebook, everything else that we've got. We even have an odd time, we have like a Zoom thing with the family and whatever type thing. It's much easier to keep in touch now. Much easier. Our oldest daughter is in Sydney, Australia. Youngest daughter's in New Zealand. So again, we got the time difference. But it's funny, when they were both in Ireland and at college, we hardly heard from them. But now they're on the other side of the world, they're in touch.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah. I'm loving how this has turned out for a lot of people in quite an unexpected way. Brilliant.
No, look, I mean, the good thing too is that things like cousins and different type things that I would never have been in touch with when I was working. Now I've got the time. I make the point, and again, I use Facebook Messenger a lot because I don't want a lot of it to be public.
Yes.
No, I want my conversations with some cousins and other people that are close to me to be private. So again, it's worked out great and everything to get the likes of that. And look, I mean, we're in touch with lots of the girls' friends and all different type things, and some of them are over in Australia playing sport, and you follow them on Facebook and whatever. So we've never really, we've never felt homesick from Ireland. When we first moved from Scotland to Durham, we maybe were homesick for a couple of months, but that wore off. But the world's such a small place now; you can get anywhere.
That's a great point. Small world and great technology to support us. And Michael Whitby's saying that over on YouTube. You've got WhatsApp now; it's all you need. Panel, thank you so much. That's been amazing, and that for me, the time's flown by.